have for a special segment here of It Fries My Eggs, my good pal, the Connecticut epilepsy advocate, Bob Fiore. Bob and I have sort of become reacquainted over the past couple of years, and I think it's important to, have a segment where we can do warts and all, because I kind of like warts and all. Not that Bob, excuse me, has any warts, but I'm so glad to have him. Bob, how are you this morning?
Good, and you?
Okay, thanks. So what's frying your eggs?
Well, I'm looking at the undocumented immigrants getting driver's license, and just find that amazing.
Okay, now for the sake of our viewers, can you explain to us the fact pattern that has caused this to come about?
Well, it looks like our country, which is a great country, and we're proud to be American citizens, they're trying to get more undocumented immigrants here, and they keep forgetting that there's people that were born and raised here who came here, and they're documented immigrants who proudly became U.S. citizens. They want to work, they want to drive, and they're almost being pushed by the wayside, which isn't fair.
Well, and this is me now. I was in we were both in the Stanford school system. We did not know each other, but we're contemporaries. We got out of high school the same year, different schools. And I was always taught, at least they told me way back when, that citizenship was not a right, but it was a privilege, and you had to attain it. If you were born here, you had it, whereas if you were coming in, you had to know a number of things about the country, the Constitution, what it was founded upon. And it was also, and as it was explained to us by our history teachers, that this was for your protection, because I knew, and you probably knew the same guys, excuse me, that we were talking, to in Stanford way back when, who did dock security during the Second World War, and they were standing there, in military service, arm to arm, shoulder to shoulder, like nobody's getting through here because we don't want people who might be causing something to occur that we don't want to have in this country. We have to keep a watch on things for the protection of others. Now, this was the understanding I had, and now all of a sudden, we see that line being blurred, and some people say, well, this is good because it's letting people into the country, but I'm like you, I'm a little bit concerned about this, and sometimes I'm very concerned because I kind of wonder what's getting in here and how quickly, because, I'm not that old, I was around on 9/11.
Oh, yeah, and the thing is, there used to be, I say used to because it seems like it's fading away, a standard process where you came to this great country, America, you became a permanent resident, and then after that you became a naturalized citizen. The other thing that really aggravates me is that when you come to America, speak English. When you come to America, you have every right to wear what garb you like, but we shouldn't have to be bending over backwards. If we want to say Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, instead of constantly Happy Holidays, and everything gets brushed by the wayside, I don't think that's fair either. What about you?
Well, and I would agree with you. My concern is that if you don't have a national language, something that we all could understand, and people can say cultures and things. Yeah, I get that. I absolutely positively get that. But if I'm sitting in a movie theater and somebody yells fire, I know what to do. I know where the sign is. I know what door I've got to head out of. But if they yell El Fuego, I don't understand that if I don't understand Spanish.
Exactly, because you don't know if that's a meal or a fire.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's the concern that I've always had like you. Now, with that said, what do you think the motivation is for having people come to the country, without the standards of immigration? What do you think is behind that in your humble and educated perspective?
I just feel it's a large number of politicians that refuse to follow a standard that generations and generations and generations before us followed, and they just like, okay, let's do it. And to me, that really doesn't make sense, because that's the equivalent of me walking into DMV and saying, I like to drive. Here you go, here's a license. I like to vote. Okay, sounds good. If all of us go why can't others follow that same process too?
Now, just so people watching us don't think that, we're a couple of people who are just exploring one side of the issue and haven't looked at the others. Those who may oppose your perspective, my perspective, yeah, warts and all, I do agree with you, will say, well, the immigrants are taking the jobs that other people won't take. They're bringing life to this community. After all, aren't we all a nation of immigrants? And, these laws are antiquated and they're causing us more problems than what they're supposed to prevent. What's your particular perspective on that perspective?
Well, again, I just feel that if everyone was willing to follow the protocol and do that, it would not be an issue. I know that so many people that come here and follow the norm and go through the process, they'll do everything possible. Become a permanent resident, go register to vote, they pay their taxes, they get a regular driver's license. So they should fill these little loopholes. And you know what? Since we do live in America, you and I and millions of others, we're proud of the fact that we can offer our point of view. That's the beauty of America. Isn't
it? Yeah. And it's people had fought and died to give us that privilege.
Exactly. And this is something that myself and a multitude of my friends have always said, and I'm sure you agree that people complain about politicians overall, this one's this, that's one that, and the first thing out of my mouth is, excuse me, did you vote?
Right.
And they say no. Sorry. Then don't complain.
Now let me ask you this, and I'm kind of, even though I'm sort of on the same thing, but I'm straying a little bit. What do you
stray? Come on, tell me.
What do you think about quote-unquote internet voting? Do you think it would be a better world if we can turn on our computers and go through the little VeriSign thing? I often have to do it here in my work. Put in our little protocols and put in our little ID and say, I vote here for this particular person. Or do you think that the system that we now have, which is quote-unquote present the body either to your town hall or to an absentee ballot to get it, do you think that's better? What do you think about quote-unquote computer voting?
No, I disagree with it. Because normally when you vote, it's every 2 years. So that comes out to 730 days. So if you can't take the time to use 1 day out of those 730, it just defeats the purpose. It's not asking too much.
No, to be a citizen.
Out of every 730.
To be a citizen, it's absolutely true. Well, anyway, in our closing minutes, and as always, value your participation and your friendship. I understand you've been, and believe me, I've not been as avid a Facebook reader as I probably was in the beginning. You've been involved in a number of different activities. Maybe you want to share that with our viewers.
Oh, I don't mind, but the thing is, I figured today we would stick to the one topic. Definitely when we get together, we'll bring up the others.
That's perfectly okay. Well, listen, I can't thank you enough, and I invite any of my friends or anybody who has a gripe or a beef or a social commentary, whatever, get on here, tell us what's frying your eggs, and believe me, you will find out what's frying mine. And with me, I probably have a whole poultry farm some days, this morning being one. Bob, thank you so much. Best wishes for a Merry Christmas for you and Ling Chai, and we will be talking very soon, my friend.
Thank you. You and your family have a very Merry Christmas and a healthy and happy New Year.
Oh, yeah.
I give you good advice, as my buddy Alan Sherman said.
And if you don't know who Alan Sherman is, you gotta look him up. Bob, thanks so much.
Bye.
And so happy to have Bob Fiore here frying his eggs, and we're going to come back with a couple of classic movie clips, and can't wait to show them to you. Tony DeAngelo here in Connecticut Morning, rounding on third, coming home. See you in a bit.